I just want to welcome everyone, first of all, especially our artists, Naomi, Ryan, and Trevor. Thanks for joining us and taking the time to do this. Also, Jonathan Dowdle. I think most of you know Jonathan.
Hello.
He's going to be leading the interview portion of the panel. So I'll just quickly tell you a bit about the organization. We're Misty Rivers Community Arts Council. We opened an art center last year, so we're working on art shows, workshops, and then we're doing these artist panels as well. Trying to adapt a little bit to these new times, these new and unusual times. And we've been pretty excited with the response. I think it's a really fun way to connect with each other. The gallery space here is on unceded Gitxsan territory. And we are very excited to be building a relationship with the House of Nicodane, whose territory we're in. So we had an art show with one of their artists, and we can come do welcomes at our workshops. So we're very excited to be building that relationship in this place. So I'm Cynthia McCurry, I'm Arts Administrator, and I'm here to support. John is going to lead the discussion. And just so everyone knows, I already mentioned it, but we are recording this, just a heads up for you. So thank you everyone for being here, and I look forward to hearing the artists. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. Yeah, I just want to say that it is a privilege to be working on Gitxsan territory here, and I've been here for about 2.5 years, and I really enjoy this place, and I feel like it's a really special place. So why don't we background and how you came in to making art?
Okay, so I'm Naomi, Ismishi Naomi, Kidney Culture. Yeah, I'm currently residing on Yurta and Tortuga territory, which is known as Brisbane, Australia, and traveling. Coming into art, art was always encouraged in the home. Came from a lot of intergenerational violence and a lot of unstable evenings. But one thing that was really constant and stable was that my mother was always really encouraging of creating art and making sure that we were creating and encouraged to create and had supplies. And so throughout my youth and throughout my years, art has always been a huge sanctuary space for me. And yeah, a massive in-look at just spirit and psychic capacities and the beauty that is the subconscious when you just allow yourself to create freely, and then the empowerment and embodiment that has come through that, through art as a healing process, has been ever expanding. And as I've deepened into my spirituality, the art has also deepened into a more of a psychic spiritual experience as well. And yeah, so just came into it very naturally, was always creating, always creative, and then very encouraged to do that. So it was just a very natural outlet for me constantly. And I always resonated deeply with art as art if I say it's art. So I was a bit of a pain in the butt for my art instructors in my youth, because I would just utilize materials however I felt I wanted to. And yeah, and it's just been a beautiful journey dipping deeper into you know, the higher levels of art and where it is acceptable if you can speak the language of like whatever way you're expressing. And then if you can find a way to explain what you're expressing, then anything is valid. So I find that, yeah, really beautiful.
And Ryan, can you tell us about your background, your general background, and also how you came into making art?
So I'm from Siksika Nation. I'm Blackfoot from the Blackfoot Confederacy. We're located here in Alberta, Montana. In Montana, they call us the Blackfeet. But here in Canada, we're the Blackfoot. The proper term is Blackfoot. Blackfoot it refers to a I think the proper term is it refers to a thing. When used the term Blackfoot refers as a people. So the proper term for us is Blackfoot. My tribe is located east of Calgary by Glacier, Strathmore, and Cluny. Now, I reside in Red Deer, Alberta, and I have been here since I've been 30, and I'm 37 now. So, why do I live in Red Deer? My mother lives here, and my sister lives here. It's just a nice quiet for me, although it does have a lot of its issues. When you're not drinking or using any drug, anything, raved here or bar or get involved, they're the ones that see those issues, because they're surrounded by people that supply their fun, and a lot of bad stuff happens. So personally, I don't see much bad around here. Plus, I'm the main artist of this city, almost on every corner and every school and the hospital. So there was a few artists that had a lot of their stuff here, but once I moved here, I kind of just took over. And this is a very white dominant, this town's very dominant. A lot of the Caucasian, Caucasian people, and there's issues with racism around here. So for Blackfoot to be coming in and doing Blackfoot artwork and kind of taking over the art scene and having on every corner, and being a sober guy, I'm kind of being a good role model on this community. So that's good. And plus, I got a lot of my Calgary as well. There's everywhere. So that's a plus, because Calgary is, well, there's a thing called Treaty 7 and Treaty 6. Treaty 7 is every on the south side of Red Deer, or that's Treaty 7, and then Treaty 6 is the side to Red Deer, which is it separates right here. But I always try to encourage people to, it's important to acknowledge the territory and acknowledge the treaty on the treaties. But here, I always try to urge people to acknowledge people before the treaties. So a lot of the Blackfoot territory stretched all the way up past Brownie, Montana, and coming from Brownie, Montana, going past Red Deer all the way up to Edmonton. And what happened was the tribes got relocated and assimilated, and they got their non-territorial, they got relocated into places that wasn't their territory. So that's what we call when people had been relocated and assimilated. So in reality, this is Blackfoot territory, and this area would have been 6. So that's good that I have art on every corner, because this is traditionally. Now, how I got into artwork, I was always very artistic as a kid. I struggled in school. It was very hard for me to learn as a kid, and I was very hyper, and I was very very outspoken and there. So I really stood out, and it made people uncomfortable, and they're always trying to calm me down and trying to get me to learn what I need to learn in school. And I struggled, but I didn't struggle in the arts. And I wasn't per se a drawer by any mean or a painter. I was more involved in drama. I really enjoyed drama and making comedy skits and really body and verbal and type of art. But then because it was really hard being a native in school, I got made fun of native in school all the time, that it was so hard on me that I didn't want to go to school anymore. So I dropped because I just want to be put through verbal and mental and physical abuse I experienced Brown. So I just dropped out and I ended up living on the streets at age 16 to probably about 20. And then, but my dad and my relatives, they all lived in, well, a lot of my relatives, but ones, they lived, some of them lived on, and I lived on the streets with handled and lived on some relatives that they would go around selling, and they were making more money than you would panhandling. And I wasn't good at drawing at all. It was not really my thing. But I seen them making good money off these prints, so I did, my dad's like, here, you build these. I was like, well, it's not my artwork. He said, well, you say it's your artwork, you'll eat better. I was like, yeah. So I started selling my artwork. I felt kind of guilty about it. I did it for the first year when I was about 18, and I felt guilty, and I practiced drawing pictures and flip them in with my relatives' work and try to sell them. But you know, and then I kept drawing, and as the years went by, eventually in that pile of artwork, there wasn't even any of my relatives. It was just all my art. And I just kept practicing, and it did take me off the streets, and I started to rent a bed, and I rented bedrooms all the way to probably about 30, selling artwork in the pots. I got into painting as well. I started to get into painting and whatnot, and learning from certain artists, but there was always drugs and alcohol involved, and you know, because I was already individual from all the trauma I experienced from the racial abuse I endured, drugs kind of took over, and so the artwork was it helped me get off the streets, but I always struggled to just kind of do really good with my art. I always kind of survived. But I joined ceremony. When I turned 30, I started, I joined a ceremony. I can't go into great detail about, but what I did was really extreme. And let's just say from 30 to now, I've been heavily engaging myself with the elders and with my knowledge, and I've been sober now for almost 6 years. I don't even know. I think 6 years track. I don't like that number to keep track. It's I sobered up the ceremonial way, not the AA or NA way. I did it the traditional Blackfoot way, and when I got into my art and I incorporated my spirituality and my knowledge and started doing traditional native artwork, not contemporary native artwork, I really got into doing traditional stuff. So everything I put on walls, it has traditional ceremonial teachings in every one of them I do. And I kind of blew up in the art world. And I've been in the tabloids and in the newspapers and magazines and documentaries written about me and murals and installations and in very high and very fancy, legit establishments. So that's how I got into art. That's who I am.
Thank you so much, Ryan. And thanks, Naomi, for turning off your audio. I think it might have been the wind or something, maybe. But thank you so much. And I guess I'll ask the same question to Trevor. Why don't you just tell us about your background and how you came into making art?
Okay, well, with me, I grew up in the Gitxsan territory. I was born and raised in Hazelton and Kispiox. I was pretty much surrounded by the other artists there, like Earl Muldoe, Walter Harris, Yaya, Phil Janzi, Ken Mowat, Vernon Stevens, all our top artists. I knew of them as a youngster, and when I was in elementary school, I got switched over to Hazelton John Field School, and Victor Mowat was the teacher there, and he noticed my ability to draw, so he got me into drawing a few Gitxsan type style designs, and I really liked it, and he taught me how to carve little plaques. And then when I got into high school, my teacher there as well through grade 8, 9, and 10, and I had a really liking for the art, and it was my favorite subject, and I was also very close to Kasan when I was going to school, so I walked down to Kasan quite often and watched the artists work there. So I've always, pretty much since I was in grade 4, I got into the art, and I always knew I wanted to be an artist, but I worked regular jobs and that type of thing, and I wasn't working as an artist full time until quite a few years later, but I always did work for certain people on commission, that type of thing. I sold work here and there to Kasan. I sent a few pieces to Vancouver here and there. But when I was 18 years old, I was enrolled in the school at Kasan, and I did 4 years of carving there under Vernon Stevens and Ken Mowat, and I learned pretty much all of the beginning skills to be able to create art, and I had a knack for it, so they really pushed me to do a little more and to work with Ken, and I still to this day talk to Ken and Ron Burley, who was the coordinator of the program at the time. I still talk to them these days, and now I live in Vancouver and work full time as an artist. I'll start jumping into the other questions here if I keep talking, but that's how I got my start. So
thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I guess Naomi, one question here. You are in Australia right now, and I know you spent a lot of time on Vancouver Island, but how has your geographical location transformed your art practice, and how does that interact with your art practice when you're in different locations?
Well, I find that there's, culturally, it's amazing. The different art styles here, the connection to the dream time, and the parallels of spirit and the way that they interpret it into the art has just been phenomenal. I really find that the stories and the feelings of the land really, really impact what comes out, as well as like just the connections that have been don't know, there's something about being far away from everything that you were rooted in that really allows this freedom and this shift of the universe to be able to provide you a whole different layer of stuff. So I've really been finding a lot of enjoyment in the new teachings and the lessons and the learnings of the Dreamtime. And so I've been traveling about Australia, and everywhere I go, I've been getting kind of stuck for a couple of weeks to a couple of months, and with no vehicle originally. So then I just kind of would set up art supplies and just start processing my experience with the land and the spirits. They're very loud here. They're really loud. And they come through the dreams, and they check you out when you come in, and they're like, oh, I'm here to help. And then it's like, who are you? And it's been really trippy experiencing the visceral communication of the Dreamtime here, and having, yeah, spirits and animals really come very strongly through my Dreamtime and check me out, because I'm coming in with the intention to also initiate healing. And they're very heavy-handed here. They're very corrective if you step differently. And I think because I was raised in Silex territory and loved by the community there, and my father is loved, and I do have roots in Turtle Island. Being somewhere where knows who I am, the spirits don't know who I am, so they come and they check you out, and then once you get the okay, it's cool. And so it's been really beautiful. Like, I've done a couple of performances, I've moved my grief, just doing different projects, empowering people in different ways, and then just really listening to the stones and the land and the animals and the dreams. And it's been really it's been a lot of performance art has been really percolating, and like the feeling of film and witness, and more, just rooted in a different way. And so it's been really lovely. It's been super interesting. And it's just opened up these just different stories to then be processed through the art, and different ways to know spirit, and different ways to understand what spirit has been training me in for my whole life. And then there's been so many answers coming through the land here, where it's like, actually you work in the quantum field, and we call it Dreamtime, and that's what we've been gearing you towards this. And so it's been really just exceptionally invigorating and exciting and really inspiring, and really just been gutting me in a different way than North America. North America, I found, like I said, maybe it's because I have roots, like minimal roots in North America, that there was a softness, but because I don't have roots here in the same way, there was this firmness from spirit and getting checked out when I was coming to work on these lands. And so it's just been really lovely, and influenced my art in just adding more like dots and more just new narratives and parallels between traditional Indigenous teachings of Turtle Island, and then what is done by the Maori, and what is done by different Aboriginal people here. Just certain sections have kept certain things safe, and then other sections have kept certain things safe, and now it's starting to accumulate into this bigger process of what we all knew. Like, holy fuck, this universe is so multidimensional, and it's amazing what has been kept, and then now the accumulation of the formulation is coming through. A lot of movement, a lot of touching the land, a lot of land ritual, a lot of just listening and deepening into humility of listening, and being up at weird hours to do strange dawn dances and dress as birds, and late evenings and grief masks, and just really been just folding into this into deeper narratives of cross-pollination of what the hybridization is required at this time. So it's been really cool. It's been really, really trippy. Really enjoying it.
You're muted, John. Sorry.
Thank you. Ryan, same question to you. I know you said you moved back to Alberta 6 or 7 years ago, and how has it transformed your art moving back there, or just throughout your art practice where you've been in different lands, different places?
Oh, geez. Well, you do know where I moved back from, right, John?
Yeah,
Victoria.
yeah. And last time I saw you, yeah, you definitely weren't sober. I don't think so. So it's been interesting watching your progression kind of from afar, like through social media
Yeah.
and like I really miss you. I haven't hung out with you in a while, friends, and they inspire what you've been doing. And it's also like a direct correlation. It's almost like once you got sober, it was just like an upward. Your art, it was just like an upward rise. Almost from what I see, from what I saw. So can you maybe talk a little bit about that, or about?
Yeah. Oh, well, what's the first question again before you just said all that?
Sorry,
What was the main question?
how was your geographical location? How has it transformed your art practice? Like where you were based?
Yeah. So, well, I was living in Victoria, and I wasn't around my people. My people are Blackfoot, and we're Montana and Alberta and some of Saskatchewan. And it was really hard for me to learn about who I am when I'm not around my own people. And it's so I loved Victoria, and I managed to live very comfortably there. A lot of people were very they appreciated my artwork, and I made a living full time living there for what was I there for a year and a half, and I did really well and ate good when I was there. But my art wasn't progressing, and neither was I as an individual. I only got so far, and I had a lot of fun with people. But when I came back to Alberta, I had managed, I had picked up a bit of a few new addictions while I was in Victoria that made it very hard for me when I came here, and wasn't doing very well when I got back to Alberta, and I wasn't very happy as an individual. Uh, I had very little love for myself, and I was very sad. So I got a call from my auntie, and she says, "There's a relative of yours, or he needs help. You got to go up there and go help him." So I says, "Oh, well, there's not much going on for me right now. I'm gonna the blood's reserve, or the proper way to pronounce it, Gaina." Um, and I went up there, and his name was Orland Collin Last. And while I was there, he was the one that he started to he provided all the trees for all the sun dances all over the reserve. And so I started to go to all these sun dances with him, and that's where there was a particular sun dance that drew me in, and it was a pretty intense Sundance. It's one of those extreme ones. Anybody that wants to know more about it, I'm probably not going to go into great detail about it, but if you have the time, look up some Sundances, and when you find the extreme ones, you'll know what I did. And what I went and joined another one, and through that, the elders and our leaders, they taught me very well. I listened very well, and I got I was given the title Knowledge Keeper, and so I when I go, I do, and I give teachings to children, ceremonial teachings, and then I paint a mural on their wall with the ceremonial teachings. So this, I know the biggest thing for me that happened in this process of coming back here, and yeah, the change of landscape definitely helped me. And because there's a lot of people from Europe that come to these sun dances because they had lost their culture, and they don't like going into like shops and getting like crystals and bought sage and all these tarot cards and stuff. They feel like they feel like they're not getting the true rooted spirituality that they so crave. And so it's kind of like the fast food of spirituality. They pick and choose what they like from different places and throw it all together, and they got a big stew of spirituality. Where you come to Blackfoot country, it's untampered with. It's old knowledge that hasn't been colonized, that's still old and intact. So we open our doors to these people, and they learn this stuff, and then they go back to Europe and they practice it, and then they get really good with their spirituality, and they're in this process, they're hoping to get some of their old spirituality that they had a long time ago that they lost colonization. And they were Catholic or Christian people, they were tribal people. And when they got colonized, it completely got wiped out. You can only read a little bit about it in the books. And so these people, they really kind of search out this way of life they once lived, but they can't get it. So they go and try to find it somewhere else where it's more pure. So that's how coming to my territory was nice, because our societies are still intact. Our songs are still intact. One of the Blackfoot tribe in all of Canada is one of the most intact tribes when it comes to spirituality. Within the Smithsonian's, when we were all getting our ceremonial items back in Canada from all the museums across the world, the majority of the tribes weren't able to take their ceremonial items back because they didn't know what they were and they didn't know how to take care of them. So they went back into the basements of our Canadian Smithsonian's that these items came from, like Europe. But the Blackfoots, we were able to take everything back, the majority of it, out of all tribes. So that change from Victoria to Alberta, and for me as a Black, and me doing that ceremony and being involved in all that helped me with my sobriety. It helped me with my spirituality. It also helped me with me being a healthy Indigenous male. And it extremely helped me with my artwork.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really inspiring. Trevor, same question to you. How has your geographical location transformed your artwork? So I know Hazelton and Vancouver are two pretty different places. So how have you changed, and how has your artwork changed?
Well, obviously, when I lived in Hazelton, I was an artist. I had Kassan, where we had a carving shed where I was allowed to go and make use of it, the equipment, and I sold work there. And I did it full time, as well as I was a truck driver. So, there was the logging industry as well, which was good to me. and my family. So we kind of did both. But when I when that logging industry shut down, I moved to Prince George to go to university. I went to UNBC to go to university, and I got a job with Carriers County Family Services, and I worked front line there. But I also drank a lot in Prince George because the party scene was huge for me there. I had a lot of friends, and I worked in a pub, so I basically put the art on a back shelf completely. I did a few commissions here and there whenever people would, people that already knew me would call me, or the galleries would call me. I would do a few art pieces per year and drive them to Vancouver and drop them off and make a nice payday and then go home again to Prince George. And then in 2008, I quit drinking alcohol and I quit doing drugs, and that kind of dried up my desire to live in Prince George, because I basically had to cut off all my friends there. And I didn't I had a job. I was working for Positive Living North there at the time, where I was working with people with HIV and AIDS, and it was rewarding but very hard at the same time to do that job for me. And that around 2010, I guess, I met Yvonne, who became my wife now, and she had just moved from Prince George to Vancouver. And one day, after I was driving to Vancouver almost every weekend to visit her, she said, "Why don't you just move here?" And I said, "You know what? I've always wanted to live in Vancouver and do art there because of the art market." So when I decided to do that, I put in my 2 weeks notice at work, and I packed up everything I could fit into my car, and I just drove here. And I left everything behind. And I decided at that point as well that I wasn't going to go to work anymore for anybody but myself. So I decided to do art and nothing else. And it's been 10 years now, almost, or so, that I've been in Vancouver. When I first moved here, of course, it was right at the end of a recession, so there wasn't a lot of buying going on. So it was really hard. And my girlfriend Yvonne at the time was working a kind of a smaller job, so we kind of struggled at first. But as time went on, I discovered Facebook and the ability to have an art page on Facebook, and as well as the galleries. I built a really good relationship with them. I already had one for a long time, but when I actually lived here, I could actually work alongside them a lot easier. And they keep me very busy, as well as now that I have my name well established, I've collected all over the world. So living right in the art market of Vancouver, it's huge for me. I basically have orders for at least a year right now that I'm working on that are a long ways from being done. So, and then they just keep coming in. And I also learned how to do jewelry here. So I went to NEC and went to the jewelry course there and did 12 months or 10 months with them. And I was also traveling back and forth to see Phil Janzi, who's since passed on. And I worked with him, and I've made a name for myself with the jewelry as well. So between the jewelry and the wood in Vancouver here, I don't do anything else. I don't have much of a social life at all here or whatever. And especially with COVID, I thought it was going to be hard, but it actually picked up for me. The collectors, they don't run out of money. So, they started ordering from me, and I was right full busy 7 days a week, basically through COVID, and it's still going. So living in Vancouver has been a really big step for me as far as growing my name as an artist and a Gitsan artist in Vancouver. And there's not too many of us around here. So, it's been very beneficial to me.
Great. Yeah, sounds like you were able to really plug in to the city and use the resources there. Naomi, in what way has art your life? Or it sounds like art's been a constant throughout your whole life, but has art helped change your life? Can you speak about a specific time or throughout your life? Or
Yeah, so in my youth, I spent a number of years also living on the streets. And during that time, I sketched and wrote pretty constantly. And I really think that that was the combination of the intoxication and just like speaking freely. I utilized a lot of stuff that one brought hallucinogenic expansion of the dimensions, but also brought a lot of vocalization. And I didn't really realize before that I wasn't speaking about what I had experienced in my life. And so during that time, as much as just verbalizing things that I'd never spoken of, art was huge for me. I had hundreds of sketchbooks and poetry books, just journaling and writing and drawing constantly. So, and then anytime I go through any kind of emotional hardship, that's actually when my art blooms. And I find that like I get really stuck and agitated and uncomfortable, and I want to use, and I want to drink, I want to smoke, I want to do other things that I at this stage don't find are conducive to my alignment. But I just fold into art, and I just start painting, start sculpting, start expressing, and I find that all of a sudden all of those feelings, all that pressure just de-escalates. And then I get into this like obsessive zone where I just love my pieces, and I keep seeing layers and layers of my psychology and the way that my heart hurts and the translation of that romantic moment and how this grief felt and it just deepens in all these layers of iconography and metaphor and symbolism, and I find a nice conversation with myself and with spirit through art practice, and it takes away the pain. I cry a ton, and I just express so much through art, and it's an essential aspect of my life. Otherwise I do go off the rails. And so it's essential to have art supplies, and if I don't have art supplies, then I'll dance and sing. But I constantly have a pen and a notepad or 5, and then all different paints and materials that I can access, because otherwise I do find I'm not capable to handle all that goes on in here without this creative outlet. Otherwise it does come out, and it comes out in obsessive addictive behaviors, which are not conducive, like I said, to my alignment at this stage. So yeah, 1000% a part of my life, and a very, very important aspect of my mental health care. So yeah.
thank you. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like art's almost like a shield or something that you can shield yourself away from negative energy or addiction or what have you. For Ryan, same question to you. How has art changed your life, or how does it help you transform your life?
Oh, geez. I don't know. I don't know how art. I know art definitely transformed my life, but I always found my art to be. It really expressed at the moment that I was in, like through the stages of my art. It really showed those stages of where I was, and it, like when I was in a dark place, my art was really dark, and the darker I got, the darker the artwork got, and then and then it just kind of would change. It would get from lighter to happier, to lighter to happier, and then it's almost like if you were to look at the beginning of my artwork and you look at it now, it's completely changed. And it went from being okay, and then finally I was kind of good at doing artwork, but it was really sad. It almost reminded me, like, if I was a musician, I probably would have sang like Kurt Cobain at the time, because I was such a sad man. And my art, I would paint animals, and people are like, oh, that's so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, but it's sad looking. It's a very depressing looking piece of artwork. It looks nice, but it's depressing. And people liked that because there's a lot of depression, and there's a lot of people that can relate to that. And that's probably why a lot of people listen to Kurt Cobain, because they really, he really brought out that sadness that people had. And I really attracted people that were in the same boat as me through my artwork, and they seen it and they related to it. Nowadays, my art, it's almost relatable to everyone, because everybody wants to be happy, and as much as they might be sad, even when you're sad, people want happiness. And I noticed that my artwork is very happy these days. And it also, you can look at my artwork nowadays, and it's so well, beautiful, and the lines are crisp, and it's the details. It's so professional looking now compared to what I did before. And so it shows that I've mastered my steady hand, and my ability to mix colors, and my ability to do a good job and also express myself at the same time. By all means, I'm not always happy. I am a human being, and I still have my moments of unhappiness, and I'm not, through ceremony, I'm not fully healed, but I'm extremely better than what I used to be. And yeah, art has, in a sense, has really, because I've been living off, selling art since I was 18, and been living off my art since I was like 20. I haven't done anything since, and I'm 37 now. So I've been fully living off my art. So it's definitely changed me in a sense. But I would say that self-love and identity, learning who you are, and trying to heal, and getting very rooted and having strong roots, it has a bigger impact than art, and it will have a bigger impact on your art.
Yeah. So it sounds like your art's more of a reaction to your self love and the yourself with itself.
Passion of where I am at in life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Trevor, can you talk about how has art changed your life? It sounds like you're like a one-man factory down there in your garage, and it's like does it always seem like it's a thing that you're doing? Like, is it, obviously it's like you're making artwork, and it sounds like you're really busy at work, but can you?
Yeah. It definitely is like work these days to me. And that's one of the things that I have a little bit of a hard time with sometimes, is that it's not as free flowing as it used to be, kind of thing. Like, I'm very well known in the area for carving the round panels in cedar, right? So what happens is you start putting a few of those out, and then every gallery wants one, and then 5 or 10 people order them off the website kind of thing. And so you end up in a monotonous cycle of carving panels, and I haven't carved a mask for a long time, but that's it's kind of goes with the territory. But as far as transforming my life, it definitely helps keep me sober. If I was drinking, I would never be able to keep up with the demand that I have right now. It has changed my life financially for sure. I'm not rich, but I definitely make a comfortable living with this art, and it's put my name on the map kind of thing. People recognize me when they see me now, that kind of thing. And I don't know who they are, but they'll want to come over and say hi to me because they saw me on this program or that, or on the internet and that kind of thing. And it's been quite the change as far as that goes. But I find that I have a voice now that I need to be more aware of what I say and how I say things, and whether or not I stand up for this or like this or that. And, I was always taught to speak my opinion from my mom and my dad. But as far as politics and those kind of things go, I find that sometimes I'll just be quiet because I don't want to ruffle feathers of certain people compared to other people and that kind of thing. So it's a little bit different in that sense, but I think overall I can't complain about it. I really try not to ever complain, because I think there's a lot of other artists that would love to sit in my shoes and have the amount of attention and the orders and and that type of thing. And so I always try to keep a level head and be grateful for what I have, and be grateful for my family and my wife. But it's definitely changed my whole outlook as far as how happy I was when to do. But after 10 years of doing that, I decided that I was feeling a little burnt out. And as far as being able to roll out of bed in the morning and go down to the garage and work on art, and actually people are willing to pay money to hang my art on their walls, it's amazing. It's something that it's hard to describe in words of how grateful I am for that aspect of that change for my path in life.
Thank you. Yeah, it becomes, if you're well known, it sounds like it comes with a lot of responsibility too. Yeah.
It does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes left, and there are a couple other people here, other than the speakers and the facilitators. But I'm just going to open the floor for questions from anyone. Does anyone there have a question? Or Cynthia, do you have a question you can think of?
I don't, but I just want to mention, if you can also put a question in the chat if you don't want to turn video or sound on. Yeah, so feel free just to throw up a question there. But yeah, I've just really enjoyed listening to the artists talk about their experiences. 2 new artists for me. I know Trevor a bit, but it's just great to hear like these diverse experiences from really across the world, and just like hearing about how art has impacted your lives. I've just loved listening to it, so thank you.
Okay, no, any questions there? I can just ask, I have a couple more questions. I guess I can just ask another question then. Naomi, what's in your plans for the future? How much longer are you staying in Australia, or are you there forever, or what kind of art do you have in the works? Or
so I'm really feeling called to film and witness. I've been in contact with some of the Aboriginal elders here, and been asked to document some workshops that will be going into different communities. And so yeah, I'm just really feeling that like film, witness, documentation. I'm being called to write my life story, and possibly like through the past life redemption work that I do, the layering of the bleed throughs, and then also this ancestral journey of deepening into like what is roots, what is culture when you come, when you come to a table and you're like, I'm English, Irish, Scottish, French, Russian, banished Jew, First Nations from the States somewhere, who doesn't fucking know. And then as I've been on these lands and initiating, working with the Maori, learning about Romi Romi and traditionals there, and then the dream time, and then deepening into ancestral lineage healing, I found that I do have drops of Maori and I do have drops of Aboriginal from these lands. And it's this process of like, oh, this is where that belching comes from when I do healing work. That's Romi Romi, that's Maori. And that's always been a natural movement of mine. And so it's then this funny, like, so I got a children's book percolating about a platypus born in North America trying to find their mate, and being confused because it's like, this is not like, why do I, like, I'm so fucking different from everyone. And but then just loving that hybrid, that I do have roots from all over the globe in, and as you deepen into the listening, a drop of blood is all it takes for your ancestors to hear you. And so there's been a lot of ancestral reverence paintings of different ancestors that have come up while I've been trying to heal the lines. And yeah, being called to witness and to film, and just hoping to get sponsorship of some kind to be able to document and maybe bring people here and bring people back to Canada. And been meeting lots of really amazing connections spiritually and artistically. And I don't know, I feel like my wife is here. I don't know, so we'll see. And I don't feel like I'm fucking coming home anytime soon. I need to go to New Zealand. I need to go to Borneo. There's some amber I need to find in Borneo, and some hornbill dances, and I need to go visit chimpanzees because they got some woo going on. And I need to go to Aotearoa. Like, I need to go to New Zealand. There's something I need to follow the whales there. So, and then I have to go to Hawaii. Been feeling Hawaii. My granny was actually born in Hawaii for some weird reason. So there's something, and then that's where I think, yeah, these drops come in. So I need to, I have quite a few travels, and it feels like, yeah, international artistry, witness, and cultural cross-pollination is what, and time to write and illustrate these books, and then, yeah, figure out how to get, our spiritual keepers to come over and exchange with the elders here. And like, and then retreats. I see healing retreats, artist retreats, empowerment retreats, and lots of film and performance, and yeah, and just like connections. So, and yeah, I don't know when I'll return to Turtle Island. I definitely don't want to come anytime before they're not going to let me come back. So I'm just hunkering down. I'm like, I'm stuck because of COVID. And I'm like, it's not true. But I'm not going anywhere. And I'll use that as my excuse. So yeah, so glad I found my oyster. The oyster is now dead. I don't know what the fuck's going on, and things are blooming now. So we'll make some films in the meantime, and pray that a sponsorship comes and I get paid to create weird art and bring people to talk, and bring people over there to talk, and then travel the world doing art retreats and healing retreats, and yeah, bringing in the power of the roots for all of us. So
Awesome.
oh, how you doing? Thank you.
Thanks.
It's beautiful, and it's super inspiring. It's great to hear everybody's journey and the beauty that is unfolding. So.
And Ryan, what about you? What's happening in the future? You have your art show you're going to do in March, or anything past that, or?
Yeah, well, so I don't. There's a phrase my dad always said to me. He's like, never talk about anything until you're actually done it. Okay. So I kind of usually like to stick to that. Nice. But I can tell you projects that I did finish that I haven't released. Yeah, I do have my exhibition happening in March. It was supposed to be this month, but I wanted a larger body of work. And so I went to them in the project, and I wanted more than 6 pieces of artwork. So I'm doing my exhibition next year, which is March, the first week of March. And then I just recently finished, I finished up at a school and I designed their playground. Over the last like 4 years, I've been in the schools teaching all the children as an elementary school, Blackfoot spirituality, and doing ceremony with them. And then I would make a panel for each year. And then eventually, out of like 4 years, we put all these panels around this circled off outside learning center for the kids to learn about spirituality. And then I did my buffalo motif. I painted a big buffalo head, and then I cut it in wood, and then paint it and put it at the entrance of the playground. So that's finished. That was a big project. They year going in there. I never released it. It's actually on my website, but I never posted it. And I'm just finished up another playground. I designed a playground in Calgary, and then there was a big deal. They brought me into the Catholic schools. It was really hard for me because my dad and a lot of my other relatives went to residential school. So going into the Catholic organization was hard for me, but they wanted me to come in and they wanted me to do Blackfoot ceremony with the kids, smudging, and ceremonial teaching. And so I was able to go into every classroom and give ceremonial teachings to the children in an elementary school and a middle school. And that was a big deal because they hadn't even brought in an elder to do that. They just brought me in as a knowledge keeper to do that, which was a big deal. And they allowed me to have, they allowed me to do whatever I wanted on their walls. Some pagan artwork, traditional Blackfoot artwork. It was a big thing for me to be able to do that, especially with truth and reconciliation. Some people were against me working with the Catholic organization, but to educate people, nobody is, it's wrong to deprive people of education, especially when it's good for tomorrow, I guess you could say, a better tomorrow. And a lot of these kids that I was educated in the Catholic schools were non-Indigenous people, and they didn't know anything that I taught them. Everything that I taught them was new, and even the teachers were there listening as well. So I was there. I made a big difference. And that's what I just kind of finished up. And then I was in the newspaper and the news. You know, most of my projects are always in the media, right? Everything that I do always ends up on TV and on my third one. It was a big deal. It kind of got in a bunch of the newspapers and on TV. But one of them I actually hadn't posted yet, and it was they did a write-up on me in this Catholic newspaper that was international newspaper. I hadn't posted it yet because some people say things about me in the Catholic thing, right? But what I did was a big deal, and so you'll be seeing me post it here soon. But they did a big write-up saying that they let me come into the Catholic schools to do Blackfoot spirituality. And that's pretty, so that's kind of what I had finished. I do have future projects that I'm doing that I prefer not to talk about until it's done. So
Totally, I understand that. Yeah, thank you so much. That is really important, and it's an interesting intersection there. Trevor, how about you? You said you have a year worth booked in front of you, and can you speak on that or any other projects you have percolating?
Yeah, well, I'd love to do the mask in about 8 years. I'd love to do a couple of those. One of the things that I really want to do, and I want to put I want to look for a grant so I can get home and do a totem pole with Ken Mowat. And that's one of my main goals that I'm going to work on this year. As well as I always thought that I had such a crazy life that I think to write a book would be awesome, you know, to get at least the beginnings of something going and find somebody to help me with that, because I don't know the first thing about it. But you know, I think as far as expressing yourself, that's another learning tool that I need to learn how to do. And I feel like I'm maxed out at this very moment for what I'm doing right now. So I want to expand so that I can get some more knowledge under my belt and learn a little more, I think. And I don't think we're ever done learning. And I think when we all, as artists, one of the things doing right, not far from, and I've gotten pretty good at what I do, but when I'm compared to other people like Ken Mowat, you know, there's a lot that I still have to learn. And I believe that teaching is another tool that I have that I'd like to utilize a little more. I did take on one student this past year through the YVR program, and Cynthia was involved in that as well, where I worked with Yvonne Starr, who's a young lady from the Gitxsan and the Celtic Nations that is an artist and very young and up and coming. So, you know, that's a rewarding thing to do that I'd like to do more of. You know, it's the sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. I'm 50 now, so you know, the certain projects are you know, you start to run out of time to learn from some of the other guys who get older, and it's a little harder for them to do things with us. And you know, and before you know it, I'll be one of those older artists, so I'm gonna have to start teaching too. And you know, it's something that I think that I have a good ability to do, so I want to do more of it. And I'm really thankful for doing things like this for sure, and being able to talk and letting people listen, because you know, we sell a lot of art, but we don't talk to a lot of people about things. And just, you know, just generally what we're doing, all we're doing, it's really, it's a fun thing to do. And getting to talk to you guys today was cool, and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Trevor, and thanks to everyone that participated. I think it was a really good talk, and I really enjoyed listening to it. So I guess we'll close it out here. Is there anything else anyone wants to say? Or
may the force be with you.
yeah, good.
Thanks to all the
Naomi. Thanks,
guys. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay. Bye.
For everybody's chat. It was really inspiring and really cool to just briefly meet everyone. I look forward to all the possible collaborations that might come in all the avenues that they possibly could be. So thank you so much, John, for just being the open being of light that you are, and the beautiful friendships and relationships that you harvest at all levels that aid in us coming to the stage and space of empowerment where we are articulating ourselves as our soul's purpose and our as artists. So thank you, and thank you, Misty Rivers, and yeah, all the traditional custodians of the land, past, present, and emerging, who are blessing us with the permission to work and play on the lands that we do, and all the blessings that come through our ancestral lineages and all the beauty that it is, because it's exceptional. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.